I've been a career prosecutor. I worked at the DA's office for 8 years. I was a misdemeanor prosecutor, chief misdemeanor prosecutor, felony prosecutor, chief felony prosecutor. I rose to the level of second assistant DA and chief of the misdemeanor division. And then lastly, I was chief of the special prosecution division, which is the white collar and public integrity division of the DA's office. And then I resigned in December to run for judge in Collin County. I am at a pro-life rally for 40 days of life. A friend of mine, Sharon Albertson, that I've met because I've been a member of the Golden Corridor Republican Women as an associate member for a couple of years, and I've gotten to know Sharon Albertson, and she sent me an email inviting me. I wasn't really aware that it was going on, but once she emailed me, I checked out the website, and my wife did too, and we just felt like this was something that we really wanted to get involved in. To me, that's a sterling example of judicial activism. I'm a conservative, and I believe that if I was elected to be judge, I would be a conservative judge. That's my philosophy. As far as being a judge, I believe that the Constitution should be applied as it was written, not as I believe or think it ought to be. I think the law should be applied as written, not as I believe it or think it ought to be. I think that when you start thinking that you as a judge can substitute your judgment for the judgment of the legislature and the people that were duly elected to make the law, then you've overstepped your authority under the Constitution. My job as a judge is to hear evidence and then to apply the law. And I think that some people that are on the bench, they believe that they know what's best, and they believe that that a certain result is the correct result, and so I'm going to manipulate the law, or I'm going to bend the law, or ignore the law in order to achieve that result that I think is the correct one. And I'm firmly opposed to that. I don't think that's a judge's job. I think a judge has to apply the Constitution as it's written. I think that moral relativism has been pervading, our society and our communities for a long time, and it's something that has taken us away from God, taken us away from faith, and taken us away from the rule of law. Because when you sort of take this concept and apply it to your everyday life, there are no absolutes, there is no black and white, there really is nothing that's truly right or wrong. Do whatever feels good or do whatever's right for you, and the heck with it with everybody else. And I think that once you have that attitude, that all that really matters is your own happiness and fulfilling that and doing what you think is right, you start getting away from the rule of law that should apply to everybody the same way, regardless of who you are, regardless of what your circumstances are. And it takes away from God's word, which teaches that there is a black and white, there is a final authority, there is judgment for what you do. And for your actions. There is a right and wrong, and it's clear what right and wrong is, and you need to obey that. To me, the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution are sacred documents. And again, we've just kind of strayed from them and what they say, gotten away from. And I think a lot of it is due to judicial activism. I mean, the fact that, take the Establishment Clause in the Constitution, the original statement is that Congress can't establish a religion. But what does that become? That has become that God can't be mentioned in school. God can't be mentioned in any government building. A judge can't have the 10 Commandments, printed in his courtroom. And here it is right there in the Declaration of Independence. We are acknowledging a creator. We are acknowledging that a creator gave us unalienable rights, and yet we've gone so far from that to where we can't even acknowledge that we have a creator in our public life. And it's ridiculous. Well, I think that procedurally, there's really nothing left for the people to do except a constitutional amendment. I mean, because the Supreme Court has the final authority on the interpretation of statute or the Constitution. I think the only remedy is to seek a constitutional amendment. I mean, the legislature can attempt to bypass a ruling of the Supreme Court by passing a piece of legislation, but the Supreme Court could always, try to manipulate that as well. Passing a constitutional amendment, though, is very difficult, and it was made to be difficult on purpose. But I think that to me, it's more about preventative medicine, so to speak. We have to make sure that the judges that we elect in the state system and the judges that are appointed in the federal system promise to and pledge to and have a record of applying the law as written and not being an activist judge. They can visit my website at bensmithforjudge.com, or visit me on Facebook, or send me an email at bensmithforjudge@gmail.com.